Is Indiana Jones and the Great Circle worth our time? We're about to find out. Welcome everyone to episode 206 of 1 Hour, 1 Decision, 1H1D. I am Chris.
And I am Tom.
And we take 60 minutes and sometimes play a random game on Xbox Game Pass. But Tom, we decided, well, why not? Let's try playing this game.
This is our gift to you, our loyal listeners.
Yeah.
And to ourselves, because we wanted to play it.
We totally did. This is one of those games where it came out. Tom and I, gush over Lucas properties in general. And this is just one of those that I tend to enjoy a little bit more than Star Wars as you enjoy your Star Wars stuff. But
that's okay. We can talk all about the action adventure genre and how much it owes to Indiana Jones. So.
Oh, definitely. And Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, developed by MachineGames. This game came out December of 2024. So Merry Christmas to all people that celebrate that. And I played this on the PC. Whew, was it a big boy? 120 gigabytes on the PC, Tom. That also, I believe, I put this in parentheses, it was for the high resolution textures. Mm-hmm. What about you?
Okay, so similarly on the Xbox Series S, the initial install is 87.2 gigabytes. There is an additional optional high resolution textures, which is 44.7 gigabytes. So another 50% bigger with that. Which gives you a whopping 131.93 gigabytes. So 132 gigabytes, basically, on the Series S.
Oh, my gosh. That's almost, it's probably almost half of your hard drive right there, Tom.
I think it's probably about a third when you take out the system, piece.
Yeah. Oof. That's a lot. That's a lot. It's a lot of things, but we'll talk about it in this a little bit. But what kind of game is this, Tom?
I put first-person action adventure.
Ooh, I put first-person stealth action puzzle game.
Yeah, I mean, all of those things are true.
Yeah. Yours is more succinct in that way, but
yes.
Yeah. And let's talk about that game loop.
I have explore and interact with the environment to trigger action sequences and advance the plot.
Well, I guess we flipped roles here. I put complete objectives to progress the story.
Yes, I there's a lot of exploring and environmental puzzles in this for sure.
Yes, definitely. And now let's roll on into our likes.
I loved the transition from the initial setup and options into what was like the start menu into what is the game. It was all very seamless and super cinematic, right? Like, like even that is cinematic. And then it just rolls, as you said, straight into the game. Lots of like really clever first person that moves into third person when it's appropriate. It teases the Indiana Jones appearance. Everything's kind of dodgy and from an angle and from looking at his waist and looking at the whip. And then it's just really well done from it's like a movie, right? It's like they just made a movie, but you play with it.
I'm trying to remember, because obviously we only played the first hour of this game, but this essentially beat for beat is the intro to Raiders, and it is unbelievable. I'm just trying to remember though, if you don't see his face until like a little bit later into this intro, like in the movie as well. So I'm like, to have that kind of mystery, like, who is this Indiana or whatever. When this game got first announced and they said it was going to be in first person, I was like, really like, why are they making this in first person? This is essentially like in my mind, like, this is what Uncharted wants to be, is an Indiana Jones game. But the more I started to like play the game, the more I was like, okay, it makes more sense for it to be a first person. because you want to be Indiana Jones. Everyone Nathan Drake wants to be Indiana Jones. That's like Lara Croft wants to be Indiana Jones. Like, so all these things. So it's like, so now you get to be that person. And it's like, it's just such a cool thing. And yes, Tom, you can see your feet. You can see the whip on your holster. You can see everything. It's great. It's great. I love that. I love the fact. And like you said, that the game is gorgeous. Just right off the bat, you can see the forest, the foliage, and just like the audio too is great.
Yeah,
I think it's just a fantastic job.
Really come alive. They look great, but they sound great.
Yeah.
When you start cracking the whip, the Foley there is on point.
I feel like there has to be a Wilhelm scream there somewhere. Somewhere in the game has to be, right?
There is. I mean, all the movies have them. So
yeah. So and the game is in first person, but it doesn't play like a normal first person because like it's more melee. It is like you say, but it's more like a platformer, almost like an adventure game more than you're actually like a beat 'em. Like, this is the same team that did Wolfenstein, the newer version of Wolfenstein. And so like, you're not just running and gunning, shooting down Nazis, but like you're trying to do things a little bit more strategic and stuff like that. It almost reminded me more of a Dishonored in a way.
Yeah.
And this is why I was just saying it's like more of a stealth game because you're not Blazkowicz. You are Indiana Jones, and he's got you see him being a very human person, not a just meaty guy that's just going to go beat the hell out of everyone. But yeah, like it was such a cool, and then when the music comes in, it's like, oh man, yeah, all the feels in this game. But yeah, and then like we kind of talked about before, there's you're kind of doing interactive puzzles, environmental puzzles, and things like that. And yeah, I'm just gushing over here, Tom. Like, keep going. What did you like about this game?
I liked that you could set the combat difficulty and also the like adventure difficulties separately. So there's how hard do you want your encounters to be? And then also separately, how do you want this kind of to play out? How many hints do you want? How easy do you want the puzzles to be? Right. And they're two separate things that you set. So I enjoyed the idea that you could say, I'm not really good and I'm going to get killed a lot. So let's make that part easy, but don't hand me all the hints. Or, I'm the kind of person who wants a challenge out of every combat, but I don't really want to think too hard. So could you make those parts easy? And I found that refreshing that it gave you that you could choose those separately.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I just with regards to the puzzles and that part of it, the adventuring part of it, I just felt like those moments felt like almost natural in a way, in like how they just kind of came up, be like, like I just discovered a mystery, like let's figure out what it is, and then this kind of becomes a subplot or submission that you have to kind of try and figure out as opposed to your main. So it's kind of like organically you're learning these other your secondary objectives and things like that, which I thought was kind of cool. It was kind of cool just to be able to kind of yes, you have a checklist, but at the same time, it's the way that the checklist gets added, like tasks get added to the checklist are organic. At least that's how I felt.
No, I agree with you. I liked that by picking up the map or finding the map in the area gave you the marker to the next objective if you didn't know where it was. Yep. And by putting away the map, the waypoint goes away. So like it's not cluttered, but like if you got frustrated and were like, I don't know what I need to do next, you can pop open the map and it'll show you that you're in the wrong room. Right. It'll show you need to go over there and it's going to be over there. Like I needed to find a photo of a cat and I was in the wrong place. I opened up the map and it's like, no, it's in that room. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I put it away, went back into that room and there it was. So I appreciated that. I appreciated little things like that. Like I liked that when it saves the game, the menu shows you where you saved. So like I saved, or auto saved, I should say. like looking at the Vatican. And like Indy had just said, "Oh, that's quite a view." And then the game saved, and I was like, I popped out to the menu, and it shows Indiana Jones standing on the ramparts where I just saved, and he's looking out at the capitula of the Vatican, and I was like, that's pretty awesome. Like, and it just kind of zoomed out, and there it was, and it had to just, like I said, I think the interface is really good. There's definitely like an attention to detail in how they deliver information to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Like just the UI I would say lack of UI is just very clean. It's just things they don't clutter the world or your screen with that many buttons or like menu options and things like that. It's they try to make it as cinematic, as you talked about before, as possible. And I thought that was just really cool. And I love the fact that, when you open up the book, the world is still kind of going, you could walk around with the book open, which is your menu, right? Your map, your journal, stuff like that. All that stuff. You're just walking around, like looking down as you're kind of like trying to figure out what you need to do next. And, I thought that was just like a nice little touch. Again, just makes you still feel like you're in the world. You're still you're present in that. Like it's just like all this stuff. I was like, man, this would be really cool if it was also in VR. Like I would love for them to do a VR, right? Like I would, yeah. And like even like how you level up in the game, I thought was really cool. You find books throughout the world, and those books enhance your abilities. And it's like, yeah, he would be reading books back then in what was it, 1936 or so. And that's how you learn how to do things.
He's a professor.
He's a professor, yeah. So he's reading fast. So no, I don't know how quickly he reads, but yeah. I totally forgot that rest in peace, Tony Todd is in this. Mr. Candyman himself, he also voiced Venom in the Spider-Man 2 game, but he was in there. He's a big hulking giant who beats up on our dear Indy. So I thought it was just nice to see him and giving him his flowers again. So, but
I can say it's his last acting credit if I remember correctly. So
yeah,
not a big surprise. Right?
Yeah, not a big surprise, and like the punching sound, like we talked about this already in the audio, but the punching sounds just felt very visceral and it felt just really good when you get one in the face.
I like picking up objects and using them against guys.
Yes.
Like walking around clobbering dudes with shovels. I picked up a guitar and kabonged someone. I felt really good about that. So
the other thing I appreciated also is the fact that you can only pick up items that that are necessary for you to pick up, if that makes sense. Like where we were talking about when we played Open Roads, for example. Mm-hmm. We were just picking up random stuff, and you're like, "What is this? What's the point of this?" But like anything you pick up is either going to be used as a weapon or it's going to be used to solve a puzzle or something like that. I appreciated that. And like, you kind of do the whole thing where you can like look around, look behind it and see if maybe there's like a clue underneath or something like that, which, Resident Evil of yore has done many, many times. So, yeah. Are we good here on our likes, Tom? I think
I think you've been gushing enough, and I've given enough good ones too. It's time to start talking about things that bug us.
I'll preface this with my thoughts. I thought the voice acting overall was really good, but I'll let you finish your thoughts on that.
Well, Indy's voice sounds wrong to me. And that's because it's not Harrison Ford.
Okay. Yeah, but I still think that Troy Baker does a fairly decent job. Like, it's not, for me, it wasn't like incredibly jarring that it wasn't Harrison Ford.
No, but it's obvious that it's not.
Yeah. Yeah. It was just like, it's funny. He's replaced two very big deal characters. And he replaced Kevin Conroy in the Batman Arkham Origins game, and now he's doing Harrison Ford. So it's like, That's
It's big
that's
shoes
a big
to
deal.
fill for sure.
It's big shoes. So I don't know. I mean, it's a lot to do. And I mean, the guy, he's making hand over fist in his career. Good for him. They just throw anything at him and he's like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. It's like Troy Baker doing Troy Baker things. Sure. But yeah, I mean, but I can understand the kind of nostalgia of having Harrison Ford do the voices and stuff like that, or be, obviously he is Indiana Jones, but I feel like this is also an opportunity for us to kind of introduce Indiana as maybe someone else to play him, if they really wanted to. Oh, okay, fine. Or just leave the series as it is and just move on. No more Indiana Jones movies. Okay, please. That's good. What I was upset about is what they did to my boy Alfred Molina at the beginning. I was like, good Lord. Like, it's just like, there was just something about the way he was like walking around, like his mannerisms just looked like very odd and like creepy. Like when you when you compare, like there was, I think IGN did a comparison of the shots in the movie versus what was done in the game. I'm like, oh God, like he just looks scary. Like I don't know what it was. And I was like,
the uncanny valley probably is.
I suppose, but I don't know. I think they did a pretty good job with like Harrison Ford's scan or whatever they did.
Oh yeah. I mean, they probably have a lot more to work with there.
Yeah.
And they're going to spend more time on it because it is your principal character who's going to be in every shot for the whole game.
This is true. On top of that, it is a stealth game, and but it's also kind of like I'm trying to think of this a silver lining on this, but the AI in this game is dumb.
Just stop, Chris. This is our dislikes. You don't need silver linings.
I know. But the AI is so stupid.
You're in the wrong place to talk about how you like the game. We're talking about what we don't like.
I know, but it's so dumb. They're so dumb. Like literally, you could be like hiding behind a column. You peek out. They're like, "Oh, what's that?" And you hide back and like, oh, never mind.
Yeah, I mean, it's classic, like the Elder Scrolls rules, right? You just throw a bucket over the bad guy's head and he can't see you.
Right. It's just like, oh man, it was. I mean, I didn't play it on easy. I played it on like normal difficulty,
moderate.
Yeah. So, I would think they would be a little bit of a challenge, or at least come and check it out. They didn't even do that. They were just like, huh? And then they just went back to whatever they were doing. Yeah. The other thing I thought that was just kind of took me out of the experience is noticing that certain conversations were pre-canned and they repeated a lot. And that was like kind of frustrating. Like, you've got this kind of budget. You're doing Indiana Jones, like throw in a couple more lines. Give these people something else to do. Like, come on, it's just my thought.
There were some things that ruined my immersion a little bit, and I'll touch on them here. As much as there is such a minimal interface, there's like that dot reticle in the middle of your screen, and strangely, you can't get rid of it. I thought maybe that was to help me as a player, but I don't have the option to remove it. There's quite a lot of options, but that's not one of them. There are sequences where you walk up to things and you clear a path to kind of get, branches or brushes or whatever out of the way of Indy. But he will walk straight into other branches and leaves and things with no interaction, whatever. It's like it's not even there. Like,
interesting.
I just walked right through, what would seems like he would put his hand up and push it aside, but he doesn't.
Yeah, he does. There's a good animation, like when he's opening doors and things like that. How slowly you open it.
If it's a triggered sequence, it looks really good. But just moving through the environment, sometimes it just acts like the obstacles aren't even there.
Yeah.
Let's see, what else do I have here? I was able to just brute force the exhibit puzzle.
Right.
Just pick this up. Does it go there? No. Does it go there? No. Does it go there? Yes. Okay. Pick this up. Does it go there? No. Does it go? And like you said, canned dialogue. It just, it didn't really I didn't really realize what I was supposed to be doing. So I kind of just brute forced it. It was what you're supposed to be doing is figuring out what was stolen. And so the way to figure out what was stolen is to put the 5 of the 6 items back, and then you know what's missing.
Right.
I didn't realize that at the time. I just saw a bunch of stuff on the ground and I started trying to slot it back into where it
Tom's
goes.
just trying to clean up. He's like, this is a mess.
Yeah. That was my reaction. I picked something up and it said press X to put it away in the display case, and I was like, okay. And I just walked over to the nearest display case. And your assistant over there is like, no, it doesn't go in there. And I'm like, okay, what about here? No? Okay, how about here? Oh, yeah, that was right. Okay, moving on.
Yeah. I mean, I will say like the puzzles overall don't seem like they're like a cocoon levels of complexity.
Yeah, they all so far they all seemed easy, and I was playing on the harder of the two settings.
Right.
So like if they were easy and I had it set on easy, I go, okay, no problem. But they were easy and it was on, moderate or normal or whatever it's called. And there was no option to make them harder. So
Right. So I mean, there's that, but I guess at the same time, maybe they just didn't want to make it like super difficult that people just like
the first hour of the game. Like if they're going to be challenging puzzles, now's not the time. Like,
you build. I mean, just like Cocoon, like right, you kind of like build layers upon complexity and stuff like that. So yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that happening. And what else did I say here? The game is so far seems pretty linear, at least from what I've experienced, and which I'm kind of okay with, because I don't need a super open world where Indiana Jones, where I'm like I have to go and call my travel agent to figure out what I need to do to get to the next place.
It's not meant to be that. Like it's clear that they were trying to do a play the movie type thing, and like. If you're going to do that, it's got to be pretty linear, right? Like,
right.
If it's going to be a lot of scripted sequences, you kind of need to push the player along a set path. So
right. I mean, the one thing that I think of when I think of Indiana Jones also is like his ability to kind of think quickly on his feet, improvise. Obviously the very famous scene with the guy with the sword, and he takes out his gun and just shoots him. It's just like, just kind of like that kind of stuff. And I don't know. As of right now, it just boils down to just, sneaking around, bashing people with objects that you find throughout the world. And like, that's about it. Like, I would be kind of cool if there was like even like a conversation system or something like that, where you can kind of like talk your way out of something. And that would be kind of cool. Or like, if you knock someone out, take their like kind of Hitman style, take their clothes and put on a disguise and stuff like that too. Mm-hmm. That would be kind of cool.
The good news is the enemies do drop their weapons, and you can then pick that up and smack the next enemy with the first enemy's weapon.
That's true.
I appreciated that. And you do have the Hitman-esque ability to pick up a body and drag it.
Yes, you can do that.
I don't know
you
how
can't
much
you can't hide them or anything either. You just kind of like pick them up and just like drop them on the floor.
Yeah.
So
pick them up and put them down.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, the game really so far has kind of devolved into just a lot of sneaking around in the dark.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that's not the kind of game I want to play, generally speaking.
Yeah.
You do have a gun. Mm-hmm. I found it in my inventory. I in an hour I never shot it. So I mean, I guess maybe you shouldn't.
Yeah, I guess it's like a last ditch effort.
I never picked up any ammunition, so I think I had 6 rounds. So I probably want to be pretty careful about using them.
Make sure they count. So
the other thing that I have that really ticks me off, and I always talk about this whenever I notice it, is that I was not able to save the game when and where I wanted to. I was at the mercy of the auto saves. So there's a point at which I wanted to save the game and could not. And so I kind of had to like play for another 10 minutes or so just to get to a save point.
Yeah. Shame. But I guess it's like also... I like, there's also like a bunch of typewriters around. I was like, oh, is that another way you could save? It's like...
This is not a Capcom game.
This is not a Capcom game, but like, I was just wondering, maybe there was a way that they would do that kind of immersive saving, but I don't know. I guess not. It's fine. Everything's fine. All right. So we got our dislikes out of the way. Now let's talk about our other thoughts. How long to beat says this game takes about 16 hours. 16 hours to complete. So
that's like a trilogy of films there.
Yeah, it is. And I'm here for it. That's pretty decent. I mean, for 120 gigabytes, I better get 16 hours of gameplay at least. This game is also xCloud capable. And it's cross save, so all your save stuff will transfer over from your PC to the cloud to your Xbox. So good on them for doing that. MachineGames. What you got, Tom?
I did a little, quick reading on it. It's set between Raiders and the Last Crusade. That to me seems like doesn't really tell us much. I mean, so is the Temple of Doom, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier that Troy Baker provides the voice, but he also did the mocap for.
Okay.
So he was making, doing the work to get paid.
Yeah.
The executive producer, Todd Howard, had originally tried pitching the game to George Lucas back in 2009, and that didn't work out at the time due to Bethesda and the publishing and that some stuff like that. But it shows us that he had designs to make this game for quite a long time.
Wow. Okay.
So, not surprising in its execution, right? It's been well thought out. I guess is what I'm trying to say.
I wonder if he had that Raiders scene like ready to go to show George or something. He's like, "This is what I want to do," and like, "Cool, let's do it."
Yeah. So we talked a little bit earlier, and I think this is kind of funny. Mm-hmm. So it's first person by design in order to set it apart from games like Uncharted and Tomb Raider, which are very obviously based on Indiana Jones.
Right.
So they found themselves, I guess, in a position where they had to go, well, if we make a third person Indiana Jones, it's just going to feel like these things that knock off Indiana Jones.
That's true.
So talk about a great circle. There's a circle for you.
Dang it. Well done, Tom. Well done. You got that. You got the name somehow in your other thoughts and while wearing a fedora. So good on you.
Putting it all together. I don't have a whip.
It's all right. We don't need that right now. So, Tom, we need to find out, though, are we keeping this game on our respective hard drives, or are we shooting it in the face like Indiana did to the swordsman in Raiders? Raiders? Was it Raiders? It was Raiders.
Well, I'll be honest. I think it was off to a pretty slow start. But I mean, this is Lucasfilm content, right? Like, I've got to stick with it anyway. The presentation is just so good. It's a slow burn for sure in this first hour. It does start to pick up towards the end of the hour, which is good. You start to get into the meat and potatoes of the game.
Yeah.
But still a lot of sneaking around. I don't really like the set in the nighttime sequences. So I'm hoping that I'll get through that chapter and it'll get brighter and get more actiony. They haven't even taught me how to use the gun yet. So I assume that at some point they will.
Right. All right. Well, look, as of right now, in my humble opinion, MachineGames should be the only people allowed on the Indy property across all mediums. They know. Look, I mean, and obviously with the blessing of Todd Howard and obviously George Lucas, but Todd Howard had this thing all up in his mind since 2009 to do this, to make a game like this. And MachineGames was the one that was able to execute. And I think they've done a great job, a first bat at it for sure. They know what the series is about and they know how to handle it. I'm making sure I finish this game because it was just so fun to just finally have an Indiana Jones game like this.
Yeah.
And it's been so long. So
it is refreshing to get new Indiana Jones content that is as good as, the stuff that we remember from days of yore.
Yes. Exactly. So those are our thoughts. Let us know what you think of this game. Follow us and say hello on Twitter, on Threads, on Blue Sky. On Twitter and Threads, it's at TC1H1D. On Blue Sky, it's at 1H1D. Check out our next streams on Twitch at twitch.tv/1H1D. We've have these videos up on YouTube. And if you're watching it on YouTube, send us a comment down below. Maybe what's your favorite Indiana Jones movie? Is it The Crystal Skull? Maybe. Hey, there might be a few people like that. Just saying. 1H1D is... Yes, this is true. We all are not hive minds here, so everyone's able to have their own opinion. But 1H1D is part of the Key2B network. If you like any great gaming content, check it all out at quitthebuild.com/network. Now, Tom.
Yes.
Unfortunately, we have to leave this great circle, but hit another type of circle, which is a button that is surprising us on what we are going to be playing next.
Yes. I suppose it's got to be round, right? Like if it's a button?
I guess so. Well, it could be a rounded square or something. I don't know.
Does it become a switch if it's square? I'm not sure.
That's a good point. I don't know. We'll find out as we're going to press the button and figure out what we're playing next. Here we go. All right. Dungeons of Hinterberg.
I've seen some art of this and I was intrigued. So sounds good to me.
Sounds good to me too. And that is it for this episode, Tom. So thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. And we will catch you on the next one.
Thanks, everybody.